Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's video we are diving deep into one of the most essential topics in JavaScript, and that is conditional. Conditionals are the decision maker of our program. Just like we make decision in our daily lives. For example, if it's a hot day and it's sunny outside, so we decide that okay, we don't go outside today. And if it's raining today, and then we decide okay, we can go outside, but we can take umbrella with us. So similarly, in code, we also take decisions. For example, if I give you a real world example, so we can decide while making our software or application, we can decide that if the user is logged in, we want to execute this logic, and if user is not logged in, then we want to execute this logic. So that's how we can make decision in our program. In this video, I will explain everything about conditionals. I will explain if statement, if else if, and switch cases. I will explain everything with clear examples so you can understand that when and how to use each one efficiently in your program. So make sure to watch till the end to strengthen your logic building skills and take your JavaScript learning to the next level. So let's get started. First of all, let's see if statement. So, what is if statement? In JavaScript, the if statement is used to execute a block of code only if a specified condition is true. So, what is happening if I go to the previous file and if I go here, so you see here I am writing some code. So this is some code and there are some console.logs. So if I run the file, the whole code will be executed from top to bottom. So if I run this file, so first of all, I will see this console.log, which is inside the function. After this, I will see this console.log, the C variable, and after this console.log. So the code will be executed from top to bottom. So if I run the file and I write node file name, so you see all the code will be executed. First console, second console, third console. So when we run our file, our code will be executed from top to bottom. But here is the problem. The problem is that we don't want that all of our code will be executed. Here we want to take decision. We want to take decision that okay, if our user is logged in, we can execute this function. If our user is not logged in, we don't want to execute this function. So how to take decision, how to use conditionals in our code? So let's see. So first of all, what is the syntax of if statement? So for this, first of all, we will write if keyword. After that, we write parentheses, and inside parentheses, we specify the condition, and after it curly braces, and inside curly braces, we write the logic that we want to execute if the specified condition will be true. If this condition will be true, only in that situation this code will be executed. If this condition become false, the code inside the curly braces will not be executed. So let's write a practical example. I create a variable is logged in and I give the value true. Now I am using if statement. So I write if curly braces. Inside curly braces, I will specify the condition. So what is the condition? Is logged in is equal to true. So if is logged in is equal to true, then console.log user is logged in. Now this console.log only will be executed if this condition become true. So in our case, the logged in variable is true, so this condition will become true. So in our case, this log will be executed. So if I save the file and if I run the file node conditionals.js, so you see user is logged in will be printed. What if I change the value of the variable? For example, if I write here false, so now the value of is logged in variable is false. So our this condition become false because its value is not true. So this condition become false. So in this case, this console.log will not be printed. So if I save the file and again if I run the file, so you see there is no console.log will be printed. Why? Because our this condition is false. Now let's see the second one, which is if else statement. So what is if else statement? If else statement allow us to execute one block of code if the condition is true and the other block of code if the condition is false. So what is the syntax? We write if keyword. After that, inside parentheses, we specify the condition. And after this, curly braces. And inside curly braces, we write the logic that we want to execute if the condition will be true. After that, after the first curly braces, after that we write else keyword. And then again we write a curly braces. And inside second curly braces, inside second block, we will write the logic that we want to execute if our condition will be false. So let's see how to do this. So if I take previous example, so now I write here console.log user is not logged in. So now our this condition is false. So now we want that if our condition will be true, our this code will be executed. If our condition will be false, our this code will be executed. So in this case, our condition will be false. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see user is not logged in. This console.log will be printed. Why? Because our condition is false. But what if our this condition become true? If I write here true, and now if I save the file and again if I run the file, so you see both the console.log will be printed. User is logged in, user is not logged in. But that's not the real case. That is not the what is expected. Because we want that if our this condition will be true, this console.log will be printed, not this one. We don't want to execute this console.log when our condition is true. So for doing this, we will use the if else statement. So after the first curly braces, we write else keyword, then curly braces, and inside curly braces we specify the code that we want to execute if our this condition become false. So in our case the code is here. So if I move it here, now what will happen? If our this condition will be true, this code will be executed. If condition will be false, this code will be executed. So now if I run the file, so now you will see only one console.log will be printed. So you see only one user is logged in. Why? Because our condition is true. When our condition become false, in this case, if I save the file and again if I run the file, so you see second user is not logged in. So that's how we can use our if else statement and we can decide that what part of code that we want to execute on the base of specified condition. Now the next is else if statement. So what is else if statement? The else if statement we use then we want to check multiple conditions. In our case, now we have only one condition that our user is logged in or not. But in the real world, sometimes we have multiple conditions. We don't know the one condition. We don't know that what will be our condition. So we check the multiple conditions that okay, if our this condition will be true, then execute this part of code. If our this condition will be true, then execute this part. So we have multiple conditions. So for checking multiple conditions, we use the else if statement. So if I write here, if I create a variable, int marks and marks will be 34. Now I will use the else if keyword. So if obtained marks, okay, so here I will provide our first condition. If our obtained marks will be less than 33, and here I am using the AND operator, and obtained marks will be greater than 0. So it's obvious that these marks of the student cannot go in the minus direction. It can be either 0 or either greater than 0. So here we are saying that if the student have the marks which is less than 33 and greater than 0, so in this case we write here console.log and we tell the student that you are failed because your marks are less than 33. And now I want to check second condition because maybe user is getting the pass. Now I want to give the grades to students based on his performance, based on his marks. So there are multiple grades. So first of all, I will write here that else keyword, and then after this I will specify the second condition. So what is the second condition? If obtained marks are less than 45 and obtained marks are greater than 33. So this is our second condition. If the marks will be greater than 33 and less than 45, in this case the user will get the grade, and the grade is which is grade E. Similarly, again I want to check the third condition. So I write else if obtained marks are less than 50 and obtained marks are greater than 45. So again curly braces. So now this is our third condition. In third condition, marks will be greater than 45 but less than 50. So in this condition, we give the grade to the user and we write here grade D. Again, so the next condition will be the marks of student will be less than or equal to 60. Okay. So we can use any type of comparison operator here. Okay. So our student marks will be less than or equal to 60 and the student marks will be greater than 50. In this condition, we again want to give the grade to the student and that will be grade C. After this, again condition. So now I am checking multiple conditions. We can check as many as conditions we can. Okay. So let me complete this that marks will be less than or equal to 70 and marks will be greater than 60. So in this case, the student will get the grade B. Okay. So again, next condition that marks will be less than or equal to 80 and marks will be greater than 70. So in this case, the student will get the grade and that is grade A. And the last condition that if marks will be less than or equal to 100 and marks will be greater than 80. So in this case, we are giving the grade to the student and that grade will be grade A plus. And after specifying all the condition, at the end we will write the default block. And what is the default block? That we write only else block, only else keyword. And now in this else keyword we write that error while checking results. Now the result of the student will be printed on the basis of the marks. So how much marks of the student? So now how it works that if our first condition will be true, our first block of code will be executed and after the execution of first block, the code will move on outside of these if and else block. Okay, so if I write here that outside of if else block. So now if our first condition will be true, it will execute the first block and then move to the this line, move to the out of these if else statements. And if this condition become false, then it will go to the second condition and it checks the second condition. If this condition will be true, this code will be executed and then it will go outside of these if blocks and execute the next code. Similarly, it will check one by one. If any of condition become true, it will execute the block of code and then move on to the next one. In our case, the obtained marks are 34. So what we will get? We will get grade E. Why? Because our marks are greater than 33 but less than 45. So in our case, this condition will become true and then after checking this condition become false, it will go to this condition become true, it will execute this block and then move out of these if else blocks and then it will execute this line. So now if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see grade E and then outside of if else block. Now it checks the first condition, it was false, then it did not execute this block. After that it will go to the second condition, this become true, it will execute this block and then it will move out of these if else blocks and it will execute this one. So what if the student marks will be 84? So now in this case what will happen? In this case it will check this one, this one, this one, this one, this, and finally when it will reach on this one, which is the marks less than 100 and greater than 80. Now when it reaches this one, this condition become true and then it will execute this block. So now in this case we will get the grade A plus. So you see grade A plus and after that outside of if else block. So what will happen if we specify the student marks that are incorrect? For example, if I write here 84,324. So these are the very unexpected marks. Okay. So in this case, what will happen? In this case, it will check all the conditions. No one condition will be matched. No one condition become true. And finally, it will execute the else block. It will execute the last one block. And what is the error while checking results? So now if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see error while checking results. And after that, it will go outside of the if else block. So this block will be known as default block. Default block. I mean, if no condition will become true, the default block will be executed. The next one is switch case. The switch statement is basically used to perform different actions based on different conditions, especially when we have many options to check. So if we have multiple conditions to check, so it is similar like to the if else statement, but it is a very concise one. What is the syntax of switch statement? First of all, we will write switch keyword, and after that, we will write the expression on the basis of which we want to decide that what to do, what code will be executed. So after that expression and after curly braces, first we write case. After case keyword, we write the value, that what will be the value if this value become true, and after semicolon we execute our logic. So now how it works? Here will be the expression or the condition, and here in the case 1 we write that if this value become true, then execute this logic, and after that we write the break keyword. So here break keyword is very important, because if we don't write the break keyword, we will face a lot of unexpected results. After this one, our second case, the next case, if this value will be true, then execute this block of code. After this, again break keyword. So we can write as many cases as we want to check. So after checking all the cases, in the end, we write the default keyword, and after default keyword, semicolon, after semicolon, we write the code that we want to execute if no condition match. Okay. So let's see a practical example. So for using switch case command, I create a variable and I create the variable day name, and the day name will be in our case like Wednesday. So now how to use the switch casement? So first of all, I will write switch keyword, and after the switch keyword, I will write the expression that on which basis that we want to decide. So in our case, the expression is day name. We want to check what is the day name, and on that basis we will decide that what to do. So after curly braces, and here I will write our first case. What is the first case? Our first case will be that if the value of day name will be Monday, so here we write Monday on string and then semicolon, and after this I will write that today is Monday, and after the code we will write the break keyword. So this break keyword is very important. So similarly I will write our second case. Let's copy this and paste it here. So this is our second case. So what is second case? Here we write Tuesday, and here also Tuesday. So we can write as many cases as we can. Let me write one more. So for now I am writing only 3 cases. So we can write as many cases as we can, but for now I am checking only 3 cases. Okay. So after the 3 cases, after checking the 3 cases, I will write the default keyword, and after that I will write console.log, and this will be, I am writing here that invalid input. The user is giving an invalid input. So now how it is working? This is our variable, or this is our expression on which we want to decide that what to do. Okay. So by using switch keyword inside parentheses, we will write our expression, and after the curly braces, so here we will write our first case that if the value of this variable is equal to this value, then execute this code. If the value of this variable is equal to this value, then execute this code. So after executing every code, after executing every logic, we are writing the break keyword. If we don't write the break keyword, then it will execute all of the code after this one. In our case, if I save the file, in our case, the day name is Wednesday. So now this console.log will be printed. So let's run the file. So you see, today is Wednesday. Now this console.log will be printed. So what if our day will be Monday? So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see, today is Monday. So now what is happening? Our day name is Monday. So it will check the first case. If the value of day name will Monday, in our case it is Monday. So it will execute this code, it will execute this logic, and at the end of the logic, it will find break keyword. So when it finds the break keyword, then it will not check rest of the cases. It will move outside of the switch block. So if I write here outside of switch block, it will check the value of the day name. If first case match, then it will execute this logic, and then after break keyword, it will move to the this block. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see today is Monday outside of switch block. Okay. So what if we don't write the break keyword? For example, if here I am not specify the break keyword. So now what will happen? Now it will check the next case. If I remove break from here, now what will happen? It will check case. If Monday is true, it will execute this logic, and then it will not moving outside here. And after this, it will again check the second case. So after second case, we don't have break keyword. It will again check the third case. So the break keyword is very important. So we should write the break keyword because it is very important, because it will move the code outside of the switch statement. If the condition become true, if the case becomes match, it will move the code to the outside of the switch block. So what if we provide an invalid value? For example, I write here 34. Okay. In this case, no case will be match. Okay. No value will be equal to 34. So no case will be match. So in this case, the last default one will be executed. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see invalid input and then outside of the switch block. So now it is checking all the cases. It will check first case, no match, second case, no match, third case, no match, and then it will execute, okay, you are giving the invalid input. So that's how the switch statement works. That's all about the conditionals in the JavaScripts. I hope now you clearly understand that how to use the conditionals, how to use if statement, if else, or switch case, or else if statements. Practice all this with different types of example to making your logic strong. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon for upcoming JavaScript tutorials. I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep coding and keep growing.